بسم الله.
الصلاة على رسول الله الكريم. من كتاب مفتاح لباب النكاح, key to the chapter of Nikkah, حبيب محمد بن سالم بن حفيظ رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا بعلومهم وكن صارسا في الدارين آمين. The guardian in the marriage. The hierarchy of guardians is that is foremost to conduct the marriage contract. The foremost person to conduct the marriage contract is the biological father, Ab, followed by her paternal grandfather, Al-Jaddu Abu Ab, and those on up. Then the brother from the same parent, Al-Akhu Shaqiq. Then the brother from the same father, but different mother, Akhu Li-Ab. Next in line is the brother's son, a nephew, whose brother is from the same parents, Ibn al-Akhi Shaqiq. And then her brother's son from the same father, but different mothers, Ibn al-Akhi Ab, and so on. Then the paternal uncle, the father's brother, Al-Ammu Shaqiq, followed by uncle who is of the same grandfather, but different wives of the grandfather, Al-Ammu Li-Ab. Then her direct cousin, whose father is from the same grandfather and grandmother as the girl's father, Ibn al-Amm al-Shaqiq. Then her direct cousin, whose father is from the same grandfather, but different grandmother as the girl's father, Ibn al-Amm al-Ab, and so on. Then the father's uncle, Amm al-Ab, followed by his son, and so on. Then the grandfather's uncle, Amm al-Jad, followed by his son, and so on. And then the great-grandfather's uncle, Amm al-Jad, followed by his son, and so on. This is how it is arranged in the order which is according to the order of the paternal relations in the inheritance division. The family members who fall under the same parents are given precedence over those who fall under the same father but different mother. For the freed slave, if there is not a single member from her paternal relations, then the guardianship will be transferred to her liberator. The order then follows the paternal relations of the emancipator. In the event that neither the liberator nor his paternal relations are available, the guardianship will be transferred to the one who freed the liberator, mu'tikul mu'tik. Then the ruler, the hakim, or his representative, the naib.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. In our last discussion, we spoke about some of the important and pertinent questions that a person who is conducting a nikah contract should be asking. He should determine whether the female is a bikr or a thayyib. He should also determine if she is a thayyib, whether she has been divorced or whether she's a widow. You should also inquire with regards to her iddah, determine if it's an iddah of a mutallaqa or the iddah of a person who is divorced, or the iddah of a mutawaffa anha zawjuha, iddah of a widow. And then we also mentioned that you should determine if there was haml, and that the iddah would differ if there is haml regardless of whether she's a widow or a divorcee, and that the father or the grandfather, wa in ala and up, they have the ability to make ikr of without her consent, provided that certain conditions are met. And we mentioned those conditions, and some of them was that the husband must be musiran bi mahr al-mithl. The husband must be able to afford the mahr of the equivalent, a female equivalent to her in terms of her status, in terms of her rank, in terms of her lineage, etc. And that there should not be apparent animosity or hidden animosity between her and the husband or the intended husband, nor should there be apparent animosity between her and her wali that is marrying her off, which is her father or her grandfather. And we mentioned further conditions in order for the for the mahr to be valid, and that is that the mahr mustn't be less than the mahr al-mithl, The sadaq mustn't be less than the mahr al-mithl, which is the mahr of those who are someone equivalent to her. And that it should be halan min naqd al-balad, it should be payable immediately from the same currency of the country that she resides in. We said that may be waived if the custom and the practice is that the mahr in a particular land or in a particular country, by example, is paid deferred. So you find many times countries that there's a certain percentage or where the custom is that they would not use the own currency due to maybe the currency fluctuating too much or the currency being too weak. So they would resort to a different currency, whether it is another foreign currency or whether it is in the form of gold and silver. If that is the custom within that area that she get married, that the mahr is deferred or that is paid in a different currency, then it's permissible for the wali to make ijbar to marry off his daughter, even prior to her bulugh, without her consent, if the mahr is deferred or if the mahr is from a different in a different currency, provided that is the custom. What we start with today of inshallah is إذا استوى أولياء النكاح. So in the event, if you have الولي في النكاح, the wali in the nikah, and أحق الأولياء بالتزويج, the wali is basically known as the guardian. You have a wali am and a wali khas. A wali khas we said is the natural guardian. The wali am, could be translated as the legal guardian or the shar'i appointed guardian. The shar'i appointed guardian. In the absence of a natural guardian, who would be the guardian that is generally a closest male relative to her, that her lineage to him is only via males. So a grandfather, by way of example, of the mother could not be her wali. So the daughter wants to get married, and you ask the person performing the nikah says, do you have a wali? She says yes. You have a father? No. Do you have a grandfather? Yes. This grandfather, is he your father's father? She says no, he's my mother's father. Meaning al-jaddu min jihati al-um, the grandfather from the mother's side. He cannot be a wali. Even the uncle, is he your uncle? Yes. In Arabic, it's two different terminologies. So al-am, it refers to the paternal uncle, and khal refers to the maternal uncle. So it's very different. So here we speak about the am, we don't speak about the khal. But we generally use the terminology. We don't usually say in our area or in this country, we don't usually use the term maternal and paternal. We just say uncle. And regardless of whether it's uncle from the mother side or the father side, but in Shar'an, it makes a massive difference, because the khal cannot be the wali of the female. In the same way, the stepfather, many times we find that the stepfather raised the child from young. The child was maybe 1 year old, and then the father got married to her, and he raised her as his own daughter. And so now comes the time of the nikah, and we dealt with this a couple of times up till very recent. The father then becomes very emotional. The stepfather becomes very emotional, and he says, "This is like my daughter. I treated her like my own. In fact, she is no difference between my own children and her. They're like brothers and sisters." Unfortunately, the stepfather is not a wali of the female. So al-waliyu fi nikah, the wali in the nikah is essential. لا نكاح, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا نكاح إلا بولي وشاهد عدل. There is no nikah that is valid unless you have a wali, which is a guardian that is present, a guardian that marries off, or the wakil of the wali, which is the representative of the wali. If the wakil is present, the wali does not have to be present. But if the wakil is not, if there's no wakil, the wali has to be present in majlis al-aqd. He has to be present at the place where the contract takes. The female doesn't have to be present. The that is getting married does not have to be present, because she's represented by her wali. If her wali is there, then he represents her, and he's the one that basically is authorized to marry her off. So it would be the groom, it would be the wali, and the two witnesses. We'll get to the conditions of wilaya. What is the conditions of a wali? But a wali, according to the Shafi'i madhab, is essential, and the nikah is invalid if there is no wali. Meaning there's no nikah that is valid if the wali is not present, if the wali does not marry the female off. فَلَا تُزَوِّجُ الْمَرْأَةُ نَفْسَهَا. A female cannot marry herself. A female cannot marry off herself. In the Shafi'i madhab, a female cannot marry off herself, even though she's able to marry off herself, maybe in the Hanafi madhab, but in the Shafi'i madhab, she's unable to marry herself. The difference comes in whether they regard the nikah to be valid or complete. Incomplete means it's valid, but it just does not meet all the criteria of completion. Valid means that if you don't comply with it, it's invalid. That's the difference between the Hanafiya and the Shafi'iyya, where the Shafi'iyya is of the view that لا نكاح إلا بولي means there's no nikah sahih, valid, without a wali. The Ahnaf, they are of the opinion that it's شرط لكمال النكاح وليس شرط لصحة النكاح. It's a condition for the completion or the perfection of a marriage, but not of the validity of the marriage. The Shafi'iyya say no, it's a condition for the validity of the marriage. So the Ahnaf would say لا نكاح كامل إلا بولي. They would the nikah, the la nikah, they means there's no nikah that is complete or perfect or meets every single aspect of its completion, except through a wali and shahidi adl. Whereas the Shafi'iyya say no, it is valid, meaning that not complying with the requirement of a wali renders the nikah invalid. So a female telling the Imam, I want you to marry me off to so and so for the dowry, that is invalid according to Shafi'iyya, because she doesn't have a wali. What if the female does not have a wali? We'll get to that now, inshallah. So, حق الأولياء بالتزويج الأب. First is the father. And we'll go quickly through this because this is fairly straightforward. The father, then the grandfather, then his father. So it's the great-grandfather. وَإِنْ عَلَى أَبْ. The father, the grandfather, Abul Ab. The father of the father, not the father of the mother. Alright? Abul Ab, Al-Jad, Abul Ab. The father of the father. So the grandfather from the father's side. Or call it the paternal grandfather. وَإِنْ عَلَى, and going up. ثم الأخ الشقيق. Second in line. No father, no grandfather, no great-grandfather. So I'm going to say it again. No father, no father's father, no father's father's father, no great-grandfather. All from the father's lineage. None of them are present. Al-Akhu Shaqiq. You resort to the brother. Shaqiq here means the full brother. Same father, same mother. No full brother. They were only daughters. Al-Akhu Li'ab. And look at the father, the brother from the half brother. Or we call it the paternal brother. So the father was married to two wives. He was married twice, two wives, or twice, however you should look at it. And he had sons only from the one wife, not from the other wife. He only had daughters from the one, and he had sons from the other wife. So they become half brothers, as we know it, or paternal brothers. In Arabic, it's known as al-akhu li'ab. No akhu li'ab, you go back again and you say, okay, the full brother. If the full brother maybe passed on, did he have a son? No son. You go to the paternal brother or the half brother from the father's side, paternal brother. Did he have a son? If he passed on, by example, did he have a son? No son. And then you go down, the full brother's son. Did he have a son? Did he have a son? Meaning, did the full brother have a grandchild? A grandson? Did the half brother have a grandson? Going down. And then, if there is nothing there, then now you go to the third degree. And that is the uncle, the full uncle. There is no full uncle. These are all things that has to be examined by a person that performs a nikah. If a female says, I don't have a male guardian, he has to ask these questions: father, grandfather, great grandfather, brother, full brother, half brother, brother's full brother's son, half brother's son, nothing down, nothing up, uncle, full uncle, paternal uncle, the son of the son of your uncle, your full uncle, meaning that your cousin, no cousin from your uncle, from your paternal uncle, no cousin from your uncle who shared the same father but different mothers, a half uncle. I'm just saying half uncle because that's how we use it, even though it's not completely accurate. But the full uncle would be my father's brother from the same mother and father. My paternal uncle would be my father's brother but from a different mother. From a different mother. Same father, a different mother. Nothing there. Okay, they're sons, cousins, full cousins, cousins from my paternal uncle. Nothing. And you go down. ثم عم الأب, father's cousin, his son, going down. ثم عم الجد, the grandfather's uncle, his son, moving down the line. ثم, then the great grandfather's uncle, عم أبي الجد, the great grandfather's uncle. ثم ابنه, and then his son. وإن سفل, وهكذا على في سائر العصبات. That's how he continues. ويقدم الشقيق منهم على من كان لأب. The person who is a full relative is given preference over the person who's only a paternal relative. A full relative from the mother and the father, same mother, same father, is given preference over the one who's only related from the father and not from the mother. فإذا لم يوجد أحد من عصبات النسب, if you don't find any of them from those who are arranged in terms of the paternal relationship, then فالمعتق فعصبته, then the mu'tiq. This basically refers to a situation where you have slavery and in slaves, female slave girls, or slave girls and slave men, and during the book we would find certain ahkam that relates to them. So what we'll do is just read over it to cover the text, because it's not really much there's not much ahkam that stems forth from it today. فالمعتق فعصبته, the one who has been freed or liberated, becomes the wali. So the slave, he has a sayyid, he has the person who liberated, who freed him. That person who freed him takes the hukum as though he has a haqq of lineage over that person. So, and then his asaba, then the liberators, male relatives. If not, then the one who freed the liberator himself and his male lineage, in the same order as we mentioned it. And then at the end, al-hakim or na'ibuhu, the hakim, which is the ruler or his representative, such as the na'ib al-hakim, the acting ruler, or the deputy ruler, أو al-qadi, or the judge, أو متولي عقود الأنكحة, or the person who has been placed in charge officially, has been given officially the authority by the hakim or by the qadi to perform the nikahs of those who do not have awliya. The important thing to mention is an imam, as we mentioned, by default does not have that wilaya unless he receives the authority from a person who has that authority, such as the hakim, the sultan, or the qadi, that you have the authority to become a mutawalli uqud al-ankiha, to assume the guardianship for any nikah and any female that does not have a wali. حكم إذا ما استوى أولياء النكاح. بسم الله.
Ruling for when the guardians of nikah are at the same hierarchical level. When the guardians have the same hierarchical level, such as siblings from the same parents or father or even uncles, then the rightful person to marry her off amongst them is whoever who received the permission from the prospective bride to marry her off. In the event that the woman grants permission to all of them, then all the guardians have to gather during her wedding or by the method of commissioning a person from amongst themselves or another person that is not from amongst themselves. When permission to marry her off is granted to all of them individually, all of them are able to conduct the marriage contract even without the permission of the Romanian guardians.
نعم. So now the discussion is إذا استوى أولياء النكاح. If there are multiple awliya, first is speaking about if there isn't, who are the hierarchy in terms of a female, doesn't have a father, doesn't have a grandfather. So now we move down the line in order of preference. Now, what if the person has more than one? What if the person has more than one? وَاسْتَوَوْا فِي الدَّرَجَةِ, and they're on the same daraja. Meaning that they are, can there be multiple fathers? No. Multiple grandfathers? No. So we start by the brothers. Multiple brothers, full brothers. The closest one would be, the closest example would be multiple full brothers. She has 3, 4 brothers. All of them are, or call it 6 brothers. 4 of them are full brothers, 2 of them are from the father. Who gets preference? The full brothers. So those 4 full brothers now, there are 4 of them. Who marries her off now? Who marries her off from those brothers? من أذنت له المرأة في تزويجها. Then they must, one of them must assume wilaya. If all of them fall short, then all of them, they fall into sin. If all of them refuse to, then they all fall into sin. So one of them wujuban, one of them must assume responsibility. So if she appoints a person and she says that I want my eldest brother to perform my nikah, or I want my middle or my youngest brother to perform my nikah, then no one else besides him can marry her off. No one else besides him can marry her off. However, if the husband that she wants to marry is not kuf, he's incompatible to her, and we spoke about kafa, we'll speak about it a bit later as well, then it requires the permission of each and every one of them, the 4 of them. If the husband doesn't have the kafa, there's a lack of compatibility in terms of the status, in terms of the lineage, in terms of wealth, in terms of profession, in terms of piety. If there's an incompatibility between the 2 of them, then there must be permission given from each and every one of them, because compatibility is a requirement. يشترط به رضا الأولياء, the permission of the awliya, they must, and because they're on the same level. If it was a father, the father doesn't need to ask the grandfather, nor does he need to ask the brothers, because he is the only wali, and it is only his permission that is required. If he's happy, then she can proceed. But if there are multiple brothers, all of them are on the same level, she gives permission to one, he has the authority solely to marry her off. But if it is that they are, the husband that she wants to marry is incompatible, she needs all of their permission. He will still marry her off, but they must give permission. They say رضينا أو أذنا في أن تتزوج هذه من هذا. We are happy that she can get married to this person. If there is compatibility, ندب رضاؤهم. It is recommended that if there is compatibility, then it's still recommended that she should seek the satisfaction. I would like to get married with so and so. I want to appoint my eldest brother, but you 3 are also my brothers. I want you just to give me your pleasure and your what is it? Your blessings. I want your blessings to marry so and so person. It's mandub. It's recommended, but it's not a necessity. That is if she gives authority to one. Assuming now she gives authority to all of them. She say, I give authority to Abdullah, Abbas, Ahmad, and Amir. All 4 of you. The 4A's must all marry me off. Alright? All of you must marry me off. Can one marry her off alone? La. Every single one of them must marry her off. So they must all say, زوجتك أختي. And then I say, زوجتك أختي, زوجتك أختي, زوجتك. And then he will say, قبلت تزويجها ونكاحها بالمهر المتفق عليه. So they all must give her. So they'll sit so in a row, and they must, one after the other, they must marry her off to him. And it ولا ينعقد, and it only becomes valid, the ijab, the offer, with the last one of them. Meaning, if one of them withdraw and she gave permission to all 4 of them, then it's invalid. So 3 of them, and others say, I changed my mind. This guy don't look so lekker. This guy, I thought he's going to come here with a nice haircut. He's coming here with a fader. I don't like faders. Right? So I'm not going to marry her. Whether he withholds his consent validly or not, that's a different discussion. We're saying that he must give, if she gave permission to all 4 of them, or to all of her awliya who are on the same level, to marry her off, in أذنت لهم كلهم, if she gave them all permission, then all of them must marry her off simultaneously, and one of them cannot marry her off alone. Or alternatively, يصح توكيل أحدهم أو جميعا أو شخص أجنبية. Or alternatively, they can appoint someone as a wakil from amongst them. They say, Buddha, it's not going to make sense. We all 4 sit there now, and it's unnecessary. We give Buddha wakala to marry off our sister on our behalf. So when he represents and he marries off, his marrying off will be 1 bil wilaya and 3 bil wakala. So we said there's 4 brothers. Follow nicely with me. Right. I hope you had your coffee and your sisters. Right. So there's 4 brothers. If she says, I give you all 4 authority to marry me off, all of you must marry me off. Let's not say like this. All 4 of you must marry me off. Then one of them cannot marry her off alone. All of them must. So what they can do is all 4 of them should do it. Alternatively, they can choose from amongst them a representative, a wakil, and they choose the Buddha, and they say, Buddha, marry our sister off on our behalf. So he would then sit there and he would marry her off bil wilaya, with guardianship on his behalf, wa bil wakala, and from proxy and representation from the 3 others. Understood? Or alternatively, they can say, we make the Imam wakil. So they come to the Imam and say, Imam, our sister is getting married to so Fulan bin Fulan, and she wanted all 4 of us to get to marry her off. But we prefer that you perform the nikah. So then you say, Imam, ik maak voor Imam wakil om my sister. The other one say, Imam, ik maak voor Imam wakil om my sister te laten. Imam, I make Imam wakil to marry my sister. All 4 of them say it. And the Imam say, qabiltu wakala, I accept the wakala. And then he marries her off on behalf of the 4 of them, and he would say, I marry you off to the sister of my wakils, my wukala. I'm a representative on behalf of all my agents, not only one, because it was more than one that authorized him. That is, so we said, if the female appoints one, only he can marry her off. If the female appoints each and every one of them, then everyone has to marry her off. Alternatively, they can appoint a wakil to marry her off on their behalf. What if she appoints each and every one of them independently? So she doesn't say now, I want you all to marry me off. She says, I want any of you to marry me off. Or I authorize any of you to marry me off. I give permission to any of you to marry me off. And they're the 4 brothers. Can one of them alone perform the nikah? One of them alone can perform the nikah. Only one. Any one of the 4 can perform the nikah. Because she said, any of you. I authorize or I give permission to any of you to perform my nikah. So whoever chooses to perform the nikah, that is jaiz. even without the permission of the others, even without the permission of others. Except that if there's a dispute between them and there's the one say that they say ik wil van afgi, and they say nee, maar ik wil van afgi, maar ik wil van afgi. So now it's one of them. Doesn't all of them don't have to be there? The one say, but I want to do what she's my favorite sister. I say, but I'm the eldest. I say, but I'm half of that. I say, but I'm the most handsome. مثلا now. Now then they must أقرعوا. They must toss. They must toss. And whoever the toss falls on has the authority to marry her off. They say, okay, we're going to toss tomorrow, inshallah. We're going to do a qur'ah tomorrow. We'll see who's going to marry her off. And then the one calls her tonight and say, you know what? Just get married tonight, man. That's wait till tomorrow. Get married tonight. That's okay. I'll marry you off. And he then goes and he performs the nikah before the qur'ah. Is it valid? It's valid. It's valid because the qur'ah doesn't take away the wilayah. It just settles a dispute. It's the whole idea of qur'ah, of tossing, is just to settle a dispute. But it doesn't strip the person from his authority. Any one of them can marry her off at any point in time. Generally, what happens, what in the instance, if four of them, if she says, I appoint all four of you to marry me off, each one of you together must marry me off. And two agree and two disagree. Or three disagree and one agree. Can the one perform the nikah alone? You can't perform it because all four of them have to do. So what does she do in this instance? So there's a long process and there's a short process. The long process is she must apply to the qadi for a adl wali, saying that my wali is withholding, and we'll speak about that inshallah in maybe this class inshallah if time allows, or in the next class. That she goes to the qadi and she says, Qadi, so-and-so is my wali, he's withholding authority to marry me off, and he doesn't have any haqq to do so. My husband that I want to get married to is, or the person I want to get married to is is a compatible person to me, and then the wali calls him in and tells him, instructs him, marry her off. Don't want to marry off, then the hakim then assumes authority and he marries her off himself. That's one way. The easier way is she just says, don't want to marry off. I withdraw your wakala. I authorize the one who is happy to. So if she got four brothers and three of them take slip, and she says, okay, I still got one brother here. My brother can marry. So she cancels the wakala because she's the one that's giving them authority. Right? She's the one that's giving them permission. So she cancels the three's permission and she just says, okay, it's fine. Let my Buddha marry you off. You guys come with long stories here and toekies omdraaien so on. Buddha marry me off. So that is the easier way. That she just then reappoints whoever is happy to marry her off. Again, provided that that the husband has to be compatible, else it's a different discussion. Allahu Akbar. It's preferred though that whoever marries her off, that he should be afqahuhum, he should be the person who has most knowledge with the babun nikah, the rules of nikah. It should of the aqd is, and then thereafter the one who is most pious, al-awra', and then thereafter the eldest, the one who is the older from the awliya. And the reason why the person who knows the nikah first is because he would know the conditions and how to give off and what is required and what needs to be said, and then followed by the person who is awra', who is more pious and scrupulous, is because you would make sure that there'd be no shubha, no doubt within the nikah. And then thirdly, the one who is asan, who's older, is because he would generally have more care and he has more experience with regards to who is a better option or who's a better spouse or partner for her. Yeah. Continue.
The conditions of the guardian are: the guardian is a Muslim if the prospective bride is a Muslimah. He has reached puberty, is baligh. He has sound intellectual faculties, aqil. Is free, hur, someone who is not barred from managing one's wealth, including his rashid, and is upright, adl. When one or more of the conditions are not fulfilled, the person has no right to be the guardian, and the guardianship is transferred to the next family member in the order of lawful guardians. That is, a guardian whose hierarchical level is lower than him, if there is no other guardian in the same hierarchical level as him. When one or more of the conditions are not fulfilled, the person has no right to be a guardian of the guardianship, and the guardianship is transferred to the next family member in the order of lawful guardians. That is, a guardian whose hierarchical level is lower than him, if there is no other guardian in the same hierarchical level as him. One of the conditions of becoming a guardian is he can neither be compelled nor is he suffering from poor vision, haram, due to old age, nor is he suffering from an impaired judgment, khabal. He also cannot be in a state of pilgrim sanctity, haram, for Hajj or Umrah or both. Due to this reason, the person who is in the state of ihram is not valid for him to marry off the prospective bride or to be commissioned to be a guardian for others, even though the prospective bride's commissioner is not in ihram. Due to ihram, the guardianship is not transferred to the next guardian down the order, but it is transferred to the ruler or the ruler's representative. Matters that result in the invalidity of and transferring of the guardianship to the next person within the order, as gathered in the words of Ibn Imad. There are 10 things that nullify guardianship: kafir, fasik, and prebasant, slavery, continuous insanity or impaired judgment, mute with answers unarticulated, lack of mental capacity and the likes, inflicted with mubarsam, and unintelligent, unable to receive guidance, and dumb. These are the 10 matters that cause the right of guardianship to be transferred to a lower rung within the order of lawful guardianship within the hierarchy. Number 1, if the closest guardian is a disbeliever. Number 2, if the closest guardian is corrupt, fasik. However, Imam Nawawi and others are of the opinion that the guardianship is still valid upon the person who is a fasik if the guardianship were to be transferred to a ruler who is committing matters of a fasik which is equivalent or worse than the guardian himself. Number 3, if the closest guardian is still young or is prepubescent. Number 4, if the closest guardian is a slave. Number 5, if the closest guardian is in a continuous state of unsound mind. If the occurrence of his unsound mind is infrequent, for instance, a day in a year, then we are to wait for him to regain consciousness. If the occurrence is sporadic, then at the time when he has recovered, he has the right to conduct the marriage contract. However, at the time when he becomes insane, his guardianship will be transferred to the next guardian in order. Number 6, if the guardian is suffering from unsound judgment, khabal. Khabal is read with a ba as a sukun, or with an accusative case, a fatha, which carries the meaning of an impaired mind. Khabal could be due to a congenital disorder or other cause that has inflicted the person after his birth. Number 7, if the closest guardian is mute and is not able to make comprehensible indications or writing which can be understood. If he is able to make such indications or writings that can be understood, then his guardianship is not transferred. However, he should delegate it to someone else through indication or writing. Number 8, if the closest guardian has an impaired mental faculties, which is also known as ma'atu. Ma'atu is explained by the one who wrote the poem Nadim with the word du'ata. Supposedly, the Nadim mentioned du safa, a replacement from the phrase dhu'ata, it will definitely carry the meaning of safihul mahjuru alayh, someone who is foolish and cannot be entrusted to spend his own wealth, whereby he cannot be the guardian for the prospective bride, but the guardianship will be transferred to the next guardian in line down the hierarchy. It is sufficient that the word al-ata, which is similarly defined as the words al-junoon and al-birsam. Number 9, if the closest guardian lacks the mental capacity. Number 10, if the closest guardian is unintelligent and is unable to distinguish between the different kufu. Also, the Nazim's usage of the word dam al-abkam is for the completion of the poem, because the word abkam carries the same meaning as akhras, which has been previously explained. All these situations will lead to the transferring of guardianship to the person who is next in order within the hierarchy.
Muhammad Al-Habib Muhammad bin Salim bin Hafiz now speaks about firstly the conditions of a wali of nikah. What is the conditions for a wali to be validly a wali in a nikah? And then he discusses what are the aspects known as sawalibul wilaya, things that takes wilaya away from the person. But you have instances where the wilaya is taken away and it goes to the next in line. And then you have aspects where wilaya is taken away and it goes to the hakim, to the ruler or the qadi. So these are different in situations. Some at times it would take it away from the person, you'll be stripped from it and it'll go to the next in line. At times it will be taken away and it would rest within in the hands of the qadi or the public officer. أما شروط الولي, as for the conditions of the wali, فمنها كونه مسلما, he has to be Muslim. إن كانت الزوجة مسلمة, if the zawja is a Muslimah, if the zawja is a Muslimah, the wali has to be Muslim. So the Christian father can't marry off his daughter who became Muslim. Nor can the Muslim father marry off his daughter who is Christian. He became Muslim, she's still Christian. He can't marry her off. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ, that the disbelievers amongst each other, they are the awliya for one another. And they say, as it comes, al-kufru millatun wahida. Kufr is one religion. Disbelief is one religion. So where is a Jew, there's a Christian, doesn't matter. So the father is a Jew, the daughter is a Christian, he can become her wali. But Islam is Islam. And the kufr is kufr. So Islam is Islam and everything besides Islam is kufr. So any form of kufr, they can be awliya amongst each other. As for Islam, a wali can only become a guardian for his daughter who is a Muslim. A Muslim for a Muslim. Or a Muslim father needs to, if his daughter is Muslim, he's able to marry her off. If his daughter is not Muslim, he's not able to marry her off. And therefore, and then can the Imam or the Qadi, can he marry off a non-Muslim female who doesn't have a wali? Al-ikhtilaf, some say yes, some say no. The view is that the mu'tamad is that he can marry her off because he is the waliul am. He is the general wali, meaning he is in charge of the entire region. Every single person there that needs a wali, he should be able to marry her off. So you should be able to marry off even a female that is غير مسلمة, that's a kafira. وكونه بالغا, and that he should be baligh. So a sabi cannot be a wali. Aqil, he must be a person that has aql. He's not insane. وإن تقطع جنونه, even if he's junoon, if insanity or his state, his mental illness, it comes and goes. Right? And he would then be a wali for the duration when he is sound, and when he is not so liquor, and he's maybe he's insane or his mental faculty is impaired, then the hakim would then assume the authority in that instance. Unless it is where it is a very short period of time that he's not sane. A very short period of time. He every say one day in the year he becomes insane. So you say فلا ينتقل إلى الحاكم. It doesn't go to the hakim. ولكن ينتظر وقت إفاقته. But then you rather wait for that day to pass in order for him to be okay again the next day. So once a year. He just comes for once a year where he's a bit off. Alright. For one day and then he's again back. That day, if it's once a year, one day for the year, then they say that the authority doesn't move away from him. But rather you should wait for that day, assuming that day is the 20th of October. Every year, the 20th of October, then he loses it. Or say New Year. Achter die klop so, comes the New Year, 1st of January. Hy was nog heel street geweest, elke 1st of January, dan is hy te Makkah. Dan is hy net te Makkah. So when the clock ticks over, then he also ticks with the clock. Then the 2nd of January, then is again okay. What do you do in that season? My Nikkah is the 1st of January. Swear, wait till the 2nd of January. Or make it the 31st of December. But I want it in the New Year, then wait till the 2nd of January. But you can't take the wilayah away from him if it is only one day for the year. If it is more than that, if it is mutakarrir, it happens on a monthly basis, if it happens periodically and more often, then at the time when he is not sane, when he's insane, is majnoon, then the wilayah transfers. And when he's okay, then the wilayah vests again with him. وأن يكون حرا, and that he should be a free person, so he shouldn't be a slave. وأن يكون رشيدا, and that the person should be a Rashid. A Rashid is someone who is, you can say he's not a prodigal. He's not someone that had been placed under curatorship. So you have someone who's not Rashid because he's not baligh yet. So before bulugh, the person is not mukallaf, and therefore he falls under the category of sabi. He's too small, he can't be a wali. But now he reaches bulugh. But when reaching the age of bulugh, he's now baligh and mukallaf. But he's not Rashid. He doesn't know how to deal with finances. He squanders. So a person who purchases a phone of 1,000 rand and he pays 3,000 rand for it is not a safi. A person who takes the money and he throws it away, or he burns it up, or he dumps it in the ocean, that's a safi. Person who discards, or who he gets rid of the money in ways that are not beneficial to him, meaning he gets no benefit in return in the way he spends his money. Either because of his lack of judgment, either because of he's a person who's naive, he's easily swayed. So someone tell him, you've made 10 days rand. No, that's 10 days rand. Then he gets a 5,000 rand. You made 5,000. He gives everything away without thinking. And only later on he realizes, but I don't have money. At least, يَصْرِفُهُ فِي مَا لَا مَنْفَعَةَ فِيهِ. And knowing that person will maybe never repay the money back to him. So they come to know that this person now got money, or he got paid out from the policy now. Now they come to me and tell me, oh, just buy this car. He just buys the person's car. Hey, buy me this. He just buys it. And without thinking, he gets no benefit. Looks again, the money is gone. Safi. So such a person is placed under curatorship. He's placed under curatorship in order to limit his ability to transact. And any transaction that he performs, it is invalid according to Sharia. Invalid. It's not valid. The condition though is that he must be placed under curatorship by the Qadi first. If he is a person who squanders, but he was not placed under curatorship yet, he can still be a wali. Only once he's placed under curatorship, the person comes and he says, "Ya Qadi, this person is a Safi. Where's your bayina? Here's your bayina. Here's my proof. Here's my witnesses. Do you testify this? Ushidu billahi al-azim, I take an oath by Allah Ta'ala that this person did so and so and so, and he's in the category of a Safi." The next person, the Shahid, Uqsim billahi al-azim, I take an oath by Allah Ta'ala that so and so, and he's in the category of Safi. The Hakim or the Qadi places a hukum, and he passes judgment that he is a Safi. Mahjurun alayhi bi safa. He should be limited in terms of his transactions because he is in a